I'm gonna pass it off.
Yeah, no, like I wanted to touch on the sort of emotional availability that we were talking about, and also the sort of social hierarchy in the African community when it comes to manhood and femalehood. And Olga was the one actually talking about that. But I'll start with like emotional availability in a relationship. I think, especially as an African boy, growing up, my father and my mother, I wouldn't say that they weren't emotionally available to each other. I would definitely say that my mom was definitely the one that was the most emotionally vocal out of both. Um, Even currently, I know more about the crazy things that have happened in my mom's life than I do of my dad. Like my dad was also like really someone that was very um, kind of to himself, and he kind of kept a lot of his emotions to himself. I've seen my mom cry so many times, yet I've never seen my dad cry or get somewhat emotional about something. Um, and I guess that kind of touches on how, you know, the whole connection of the son and the father. And you start to look at your dad, and you see your dad, you know, always holding back tears and holding back emotion, even when in reality he should be letting it go. um, and you start to understand, or you start to think that, okay, well, that's how I have to be as well. um, but my specific situation, I in high school I got into theater, and in theater it was a place for me to express myself. And a big thing that I had to do was, uh, in order to be good at theater, because it's something that I really got interested in, I had to be emotionally available, emotionally invested in every single character that I play. So this whole, you know, stereotype of the African man that doesn't talk about his feelings or doesn't cry, it couldn't be it. Because if I'm on stage and I'm not crying at the end of that amazing monologue, I'm not gonna get the reaction that I want. I'm not gonna get the performance that I want. So me specifically, that helped me to let go of this. The word in French is rancune, which is like when you keep your emotions inside and you
Mhm.
keep the sadness inside and you don't let it go. And what that kind of helped me, it helped me in also my relationships, because it made me be able to say, okay, well, I'm comfortable enough to cry on stage in front of hundreds of people. My girlfriend or my friend right here, I can cry in front of them. It's simple. You know what I mean? It's easy. It's easier. Um, so yeah, when it comes to social hierarchy, when it comes to manhood and femalehood, and like cooking, and like the woman's always supposed to cook and all that. My mother was someone that was kind of, I don't want to use the word victim, but I do want to use the word with victim at the same time
Use
of that
it.
whole
Use
thing.
it.
I'm
Use
gonna
it.
use it, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
use
use
it.
Mom was a
Use
it.
it.
victim too.
Yeah,
Just
no,
a
use it.
victim
Use
of
it.
that, bro.
No, come on, bro. Let's be real. Let's be real. Like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I'm just want to say this. Like, I like say this with my chest. Like, I really think
Mhm.
like African men are fucking horrible. Like,
Yeah, bro.
in my
Like
experience, I
I'm
really
gonna be
do.
honest, bro.
But go on, go on.
Yeah, no, no, like my mother, but like she cooks every single day. Like I find myself so lucky because I have been eating African food for years, and I'm so happy because now, you know, when I go out with friends and they're like, you wanna eat a burger? I'm like, no, I got fufu with with some soup at home. I'm good, bro. I'm good because, bro, you know
Yo,
what I
tell
mean,
you,
bro? You
tell
know,
you.
so but you know, as I'm growing up, I realized that she does that and she cooks all the time because she thinks that it is her duty as a woman to do that,
Do
which in
that.
a sense it's not good, right? Like it's not good, right? So she's teaching me how to cook, you know, these African foods, because she's always making jokes like, bro, if you don't marry an African woman, how are you gonna eat any African food? Like, you're always gonna be at my crib, like, what do you mean, right? But
And you're gonna be like,
so
nah.
she's, yeah, right. So So she's teaching me to cook myself. And one of the things that every single time that we're in the kitchen cooking together, she's always telling me that I never want to hear from your wife that you harassed her when you came back from work and she didn't cook for you. It always has to be that when you're hungry, you're able to cook for yourself and cook for the family. It cannot be just one person always coming, because she's going to come home. She's also tired. So there has to be that balance, right? And I think that's one of the greatest teachings upon many that my mother implemented into me. So yeah, I definitely understand like Olga's point when it comes to, oh, like your room is not clean or you can't cook, no one's gonna marry you. And you know, it's definitely something that as we grow up we need to talk about and change.
Actually, Paul Ford, Miles wants to ask you a question. Actually.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I was asking if you could touch on how you were able to break through that emotional barrier, like upon realizing that in order to do the thing that you want to do, which is theater, you have to do something that's against your nature, which is be emotionally unavailable or be emotionally available. So how did you break through, or was there like a realization for you?
So I played a lead role. It was called Cyrano de Bergerac, and it's about this sort of this chevalier, or this what's the word in English, bro? This musketeer, and he's in love with this woman, but he thinks that she will not love him because he's too ugly. And there are many monologues, and it's a very long show where he talks about his love for her. And I remember during the rehearsal process, me and my instructor, my drama instructor, we would be going through the monologues, and he would always, I would say them, and he would tell me, man, something is missing. Something is missing. This monologue is very emotional. Something is missing. And he wouldn't tell me what was missing. He'd just tell me something is missing. And through my own inner frustration, in me realizing that, like, why am I not getting this? Why is it that I'm not getting this monologue good enough? And I'm sort of a perfectionist, especially when it comes to theater. Like, I want to make sure that I'm the best at what it is that I do. So this one rehearsal, me and him are sitting down, and I'm going through it, and I'm reading the page, and he's just like, okay, now I want you to let go and just speak the words and feel what it is that you think he's truly feeling. Don't repress any of the emotions, just let them out. And I did the monologue, and I cried. And I had never cried like that in my life. And what I realized is that in doing that, it was me not only letting go of my own repressed emotions, but it was me thinking about the fact, like the character, and how in that situation, as a man that looks at themselves and thinks that they're ugly and can never find love because of that, you would cry. You would cry. Doesn't matter if you're a woman, doesn't matter if you're a man, you would cry because you really believe that no one will ever love you because you're ugly. And I guess it's that passion that was truly like changed my life in a sense, and was what like let me break through. You know, now when I would sit with my girlfriend, you know, at the time, and I would maybe have something that I was really frustrated about, you know, at home, I was able to be with her and talk to her, and I would cry. And she wouldn't look, and what's crazy, she wouldn't look at me like, wow, he's crying. She would be like, wow, he's crying. And she would support me. You know, I think us as Black men, we think that if we show emotion, immediately we would be looked at as people that are weak, the weaker men. But that's not true, especially when you have a good woman next to you. She will support you. And I think it's letting go, you know, and having trust in your partner or your friends, you know, And yeah, so that's what I think about that.
I actually want to add on to that actually, cause like I don't do theater, but I sing, right? So I'm an artist, right? And one of the things that when I first started recording and like writing music, right? Like you know, a lot of my topics come from like relationships I used to be in and just like, you know, certain things that happened in my life, right? But mainly like the songs that people get to hear is like about the relationships, right? And I know a couple, like, you know, even Miles can attest to this. I know like there's times where friends of mine will hear my songs and they're like, it's good, but like I don't feel nothing, right? I'm like, yo, like, fuck is you talking about? You don't feel nothing. Like I'm hearing these vocals, nigga. Like fuck is you talking about? But it was really like all about like emotion and letting go, right? And you know, as I'm making more songs, like people are like, oh, this is a good song, but like like you sound monotone to me. Like you don't sound like you're giving away something, right? And I'm okay, cool, you know. And but then like, you know, eventually within myself, I found a way to express my vulnerability and express my, you know, emotions the right way, right? And you know, I just thank for the people around me because they were just being honest with me from the go, being like, you know, like I don't think, you know, people would want to hear someone just, you know, on the same level, like as like just being the monotone. Like we want to hear a story, and like if you want to hear a story, you want to hear the emotion behind it, right? So I think that was one of the things that just like Paul Ford, like, you know, it's all about like letting go and like bring forth that emotion, right? And I feel like as a black man, like we're not, like, it's not even we're not allowed, but like people tell us, yo, you're not allowed to do that until it's done and you feel good about it. Like I think like I used to not, like whenever something happened, like I used to not tear up at all until like this year, until like, you know, obviously with COVID and stuff happening, people dying, and like you're seeing people around you like affected, you know, you get emotional. And like my biggest philosophy now is like embrace those emotions, don't be afraid of it, right? So I think that's a big thing. If anyone else want to add on to this question.
I'll just add on to because Paul Ford was talking about how he's only ever seen his mom cry, and like same, but also I've only seen my mom cry at like appropriate times, I guess. So like if someone passed away or what have you. But I've also never seen her emotional to the things like, how do I put this? Like emotional about having to essentially slave herself. And so I have a lot of siblings. I have 8 siblings. Okay. So there's 9 kids. Okay. So my mom is cooking like, and she's cooking every day and she's cooking bare. And then my dad is diabetic. So she has to cook 2 different meals because, and she like says nothing. She just, I say this in air quotes, you can't see me, but does what she's supposed to do. And I think seeing that growing up has really has negatively impacted me because I have had, prior to, I guess, like recently, I've had a really big issue with saying no to people. And literally, like, I would just, like, people would ask me things, and instead of, you know, being like, oh, I can't, I'll just say yes, and then I'll just not sleep so that I can, like, serve other people. And a lot of people tell me that I'm not so much anymore, but for a while told me that I was like super emotionally unavailable, like not unavailable, but like closed off. Like I don't talk about a lot. I don't talk, if something goes wrong, I wouldn't really cry. It would just be like a suck it up situation. And I realized that was because I saw my mom doing that, and she would just follow the rules of the culture and just like, and you can see how tired she is, and you can see on her face that she's suffering, but she doesn't say anything. So I started doing that, and everyone, you know, they see you serving others and they're like, oh wow, this emotional, or not emotional, sorry, this amazing person, she's so giving, da da da. But it's like, that's not what it is, right? Like, it's, of course it was coming from a place of like, I do love to serve, I love to, you know, volunteer, I do a lot of things, don't get me wrong, but it was like I wasn't choosing myself at all in any way, shape or form, and I wasn't being fair to myself, and it's because I saw my mom doing that, and my brother was actually the one who pointed out to me He's a mama's boy. So whenever my mom's like super tired, he's like, Mom, you need to stop working. Like, you're so tired, go to bed. Like, gives her massages, all that fun stuff. And he just like I was working 2 jobs last summer. He just told me, he was like, you know what? Like, you're becoming mom. You're doing exactly what she's doing. And I wish that you would just like start saying no to things. And that's when I was like, oh crap. Like, I didn't even realize that this is what I was doing. So yeah, I think just the African culture. I'm not sure about Caribbean culture or like African American culture, but African culture, the household itself is a lot of just like not allowing yourself to be human, and you're essentially a robot who's just doing things to get by, especially when you're an immigrant, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just have one thing to say, just to add on. My one thing is more like, I feel as if, like Olga was saying, with immigrant parents and stuff and everything, right? They definitely upkeep, right? My biggest thing for me, correct me if I'm wrong or bear with me, it's more like, right, they'll leave that country and everything and to seek a better life, right? The ways of what they were doing weren't the greatest. However, they tend to hold on to the stuff that they were doing back there, even when they moved here, right? Or elsewhere, somewhere else, right? And the thing is that for me, that's like, okay, but then what about, despite us leaving, it doesn't feel like we left, right? Like me and my brother were half East Indian, right? Um, so the thing is that we were both approached by our other grandmother and was like talked about, do you have any Indian friends? And I'm like, yeah. How about like, she was basically trying to set us up for like arranged marriage already. I'm like, no, dead ass. Like we were like, for real? Like already? Right? And we're like, yeah, we understand, grandma, like we get it, but like that's not like, we don't have to always compete like with that separate thing. Yeah, you have to find yourself a good wife, she can cook for you. Yeah, that's true in a way, but like, I mean, like we were saying before, like Paul Ford, right? You don't always just have to be that. Like if you're also there, we all have 2 hands and 2 feet. We're most definitely capable of cooking food, right? So we're not gonna be that lazy either, and just like, you know, tend to those societal norms that everyone's stuck up on, right? Um, that's one for sure. That we definitely need to like change, right? Like it's not like how Paul Ford was able to overcome, right, and be able to push through that emotional barrier. We as guys can also be like, it's not like I don't know how to explain it, but it's not exactly the same way where you have to go and say, yeah, I come home, yeah, I want a beer and my food right then and there, as if my wife or the girl has not had the same hard day as me, right? It feels as if it's like neglected completely. Like, yeah, but why did you not clean the bathroom? Did you not clean your room? Da, da, da. Like, yeah, I went out to work, so did she. Yes, she still has to come back and do twice as much work at home for me to just sit on my butt. That's not how things are supposed to go. Like I see that in the Indian culture completely, right? Like my uncles and everything, when we go to the cookout and stuff, like he's got 2 feet. He'll still sit there and just wait for his wife to go get the food. That's the thing, right? They'll just sit there and wait. And I'm like, and I would look at my brother, I'd look at my dad, they're like, just let it go. That's how it is. I'm like, it's not supposed to, really. I'm like, he's got 2 feet. Like it's on him if you got the beer belly. Like get up. But yeah, that's just something I've been noticing for sure. Between like just like within family and like tradition, right? For me, yeah, it's tradition, but then what's the difference between tradition and like, I don't know, slave work? I don't know how to like describe it, right? Like what's the difference then? So yeah, that's basically what I have to say.
Guys, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I have an online class that I have to finish up, and I know I didn't really speak much, but I just really wanted to hear everybody's voices. That was the main purpose of me attending. I wanted to hear everybody's voices and their views, and definitely want to like sink this in afterwards as well, just to give myself some time to reprocess all this information that everybody said. I think everybody's voices and views and stuff was really valuable, and I thank everyone for being here. So I really appreciate that. It was nice to meet everyone that I haven't met before, so it's definitely nice to meet you all. So yeah, okay. Anyways, guys, take care.
I also have to go. I literally 6:15. I told my mom I'm on my way. Still here, so I really gotta go. She's blown up my line. Okay, nice to meet you. Olga. Before, great conversation. Hope we can do this again soon. Have a good night.
For sure. You too, guys.
Bye. Good night.